Welcome back to the Wildlands, and in tonight's episode we're talking about water, the so-called elixir of life, and imperative to look for water and make sure you have water when you're buying a homestead or off-grid property. And we here on our off-grid property have a well, and we also have this beautiful river just behind the well. And in tonight's episode we're also going to be looking at drinking water and how you can safely get drinking water from a well which may be dirty. And for 2 years before we got our Lifesaver Jerrycan, which I'll show you in a minute, we would have to drive into town to one of the many fonts and collect 100 litres or so of water in bottles for washing up and cooking.
I'm sitting at the very lowest point of our land at the moment, right down at the bottom of the Wildlands, in front of our beautiful old well. And when we first moved onto the Wildlands 2 years ago, the first thing we had to think about was how we were going to get water from here all the way up to the top of our land. Because we live off-grid, we don't have any piped water, so this water is absolutely imperative to be able to get up there. We need it for washing, for drinking, and of course for watering all of our plants. So can we get water all the way from here up 330 metres, that's nearly 1,000 feet, all the way up there on a regular basis without too much stress? Up here to the reservoir.
Lifesaver is a game changer for those of us homesteading or off-grid, or even those in a van or those going camping. You can fill it up with any dirty water, water out of a puddle, water out of a stream, water out of a well such as ours, and then it filters it into drinking water, and it tastes delicious. It's natural, it's good, and it's free. Cheers. And I'll put a link to the Lifesaver in the description should you want to get one for your own off-grid place or your van.
This is our water storage down in the garden area. We have 4 IBCs, they hold 1,000 litres of water each, and we fill these up with the big black pipe coming from the reservoir. We use them for filling up watering cans and for sometimes running hose off, and all these extra pipes you can see run down to our drip irrigation down in the food forest.
We also pump water from the reservoir into these 4 IBCs, 1,000 litres each, 4,000 litres in total, and these are all connected together, and also they have a hose that runs to our irrigation system in the food forest, and soon we'll be putting a new irrigation system in for the market garden. And all of our water in the garden itself is primarily automated, which saves us a great deal of time. And we also now have a new reservoir that Digger Dave put in for us last year. So this is the new reservoir, and at a guess I think it's going to hold about 10,000 litres. And last summer we got to the very last week where we had no water in our IBCs and no water in our reservoir, but our garden was fully watered. So the plan this year and going forward is to make sure that we always increase the water availability on the land. So that's why we're adding this extra reservoir. So we've got another 10,000 litres just in case the summer is hotter or drier for longer than last year, and it is expected this year. Having said that, we have had an immense amount of rain, so the water table will be fully stocked, so that's good news. We're not entirely sure how much water the reservoir holds because we did use an app to calculate the water volume, and it said that we had 97,500 litres, but I really couldn't see that. So I think it's probably more like about 40 or 45,000 litres that we use in the reservoir here. And from here, this is where we use our solar pump, and we'll be installing a new irrigation system with multiple taps for the market garden, and we'll show you that in a future video so you can see how we fully irrigate the land from our well. So we've had a few people in the past that have asked us about well cleaning and about our pipe and our pumps. So wells, probably if you're buying off-grid land or rural land that's not been used for a while, probably will need cleaning. So 2 years ago we had friends round and we cleaned the well. We'll have a look at that here. You can see I'm down at the well. You can see Paul in the background. So you'll have been following our well and water traumas here on the wildlands. Certainly a challenge living off-grid. We managed to resolve the pressure issue and get a lot of water up the land much quicker than before. And the issue after that was the level of the well has dropped dramatically, probably a month earlier than it should have done because of the heat wave. So we've got a foot, maybe 2 foot maximum to the very bottom of the well, which is giving us about 2,000 litres of water a day. Sounds a lot, but we're using just under 1,000 litres at the moment to water the fruit garden. So today's job is to get down the well, get all the mud and silt out, get the plant matter out, give it a good clean, and see if we can drop the level so that we've got more water, more depth, and we can pump for longer. And hopefully when the drought continues, as we've still got the whole of August to manage through, we'll be able to get enough water to keep our plants going until the autumn. So today's challenge is getting down the well and giving it a damn good clean. So you can hear the pump is on. That's the level of the water. So that's the pump run. And that's about as much as we can take out as we suck air into the green pipe. So there's probably about a foot in the middle where it's very muddy, and that's what we've got to get down and clear out. And all this overgrown plants and brackens around the outside and dangling in the water, gonna have to yank that all out as well. Gonna be fun. Ladder is in. And a braver man than me is going down. Not something you've done before when you lived in a house, gone down a well, eh?
No, never been in a well in my life. It's interesting, it's a bit scary really.
It flicked in my face and it does not smell good.
Glamour job.
Oh no, it stinks.
Off-grid living.
Ah.
The things you have to do off-grid that you've never done before. We stopped for breakfast. So the problem, if that's the right word, that we had just before breakfast was that the pump, due to the dirty water, was getting blocked. And then we got the airlock that we had in last week's video on the green pipe. So we had to prime it to get it started again. And while we were at breakfast, the well filled right up again. Not right up to the top, but right up to the level it was at, the level of the water table. So it's all good news. and that's a pump off. So we're pumping out the water so we can get closer to the silt and the mud at the bottom so that we can carry on removing that. So far we've taken quite a bit out, but there's a hell of a lot more. It goes a long, long way. So it's all primed and the black pipe's now empty, so hopefully without the pressure of 600 litres pushing that way, we can get another 400-500 litres out of the well and Missy can get digging her lovely mud. It's fun, isn't it?
I'm exhausted. And my wellies. I know. It's been in my wellies, it's been in my gloves. I still keep them on because I feel like if there's something really nasty in there, then at least I won't have to touch it. And I smell bad because the mud smells bad. I don't know how many buckets we've done this morning.
About 20 or so.
20, but that's not bad. 20 buckets of gooch.
Yeah, the pile's about twice the size.
Yeah. I found what I think is a fence post down there, and it's all rotted. It's been in there for a long, long time. There's a big piece of granite, like that big, right down there in the very centre, that I think has probably just fallen in from one of the side walls. The worst bit about it, I don't actually mind getting wet and being in the sludge and so on. The worst bit is the fact that because I can't just stand in the bottom of the well on a nice bit of rock and crouch and scoop and so on, you've got to balance either on one ladder or with 1 foot on each ladder and try very hard not to fall in, and then you can't crouch. So you're basically doing squats balanced on ladders while scooping smelly sludge up. It's like it's a whole new exercise regime.
Better than the gym.
It's got to be better than the gym, yeah. So I'm just sitting down while my jelly legs settle, and then I'll go back in. The other trouble is, obviously, is that, I mean, it's fantastic that the well is filling up really, really fast. I can see, I might risk taking the camera in there in a minute to show you. I can see where the water's coming in. But it comes in so fast that by the time we've turned the pump off so that I can let go of the hose and I can start scooping out, it fills up and it goes up over my knees. And then there's a certain point where I can't get my arm in deep enough to get the sludge out with my gloved hand because I just can't lean in far enough. So now we've got to run the pump, get a bit more water out, have another go.
So the plan is that every morning, for as long as it takes, but say a week, we're going to come down, drain the well, fill up as much water up the top as we can and get more sludge out and just keep going so that we've got the maximum depth possible, with the view that hopefully, as we're not even fully into the main part of the summer with the drought, that we've got enough water to get us through to the first rain. Somebody was asking me in the comments when that might be. Very difficult to say. Could be in September, could be in October. Depends how long the summer takes, and then when it does rain, usually the first rains of last year when Martin was here, if you remember those videos then, it was biblical rain, unlike anything I've seen before, like tsunami rain. So we've got to make it through to that, couple of months away maybe, so fingers crossed, but we'll keep emptying the well out. It's certainly an exciting job.
I love how I just trust all this side of the well now. It'll be fine.
So you can see how much we sucked out this time, probably a couple of 1,000 litres at least, but it fills up very quickly. Missy's negotiating the ladders, rather her than me, eh? So if anyone would like to volunteer to come down our land and be our well digger, just let us know.
Can you see, I don't know if you can zoom, but that's where it's coming in.
Oh yeah, I can see the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me get the camera there. So I don't know if you can see that, but that's where the water's coming in.
Better get me a bucket, eh?
I'll get you a bucket. Need more length?
Yeah. Oh no, it should be right.
So when we cleaned our well, we realised that it fills from a small spring at the back. Another consideration when buying property is your well wet, so to speak, all year round? So ours usually is dry in August. So if you're gardening or growing your own food or have a food forest like us, then you have to prepare for the times of the year when your water runs out from your well. So that then means storage, be that reservoirs and or IBCs and or bladders or other reciprocals, or you might build a breeze block square or circle to hold many thousands litres of water, but that's definitely a consideration. And every year we become wiser about the amount of water that we may or may not need to store depending on the weather. So it's certainly worth taking that into account when you're starting a homestead, particularly if you're going to be growing your own food. If you're interested in the specs of the Lifesaver Jerrycan for your own off-grid property or your van or boat, etc., it will purify up to 20,000 litres or 5,300 US gallons of water. The Jerrycan holds up to 18.5 litres of water at any one time. Removes 99.99% of bacteria and also removes cyst and viruses, and you can get the exact specs for that information off the Icon Lifesaver website. I'll put a link down here. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode all about water. Certainly a lot of information there I wasn't aware of when I moved off grid a couple of years ago. And now it seems quite easy to pump our water all that way up the hill. And many people have said, why don't you do your gardening, or why don't you live down the bottom of the land and you'd have less work pumping it up? And that is very true. However, there is no access by vehicle down the bottom. So for building and or living and or carrying shopping, etc., not very practical. Although at a later date, we probably will farm at the bottom of the land so that we are much nearer our water supply. Also like to thank Icon Lifesaver for the Jerrycan, which is absolutely wicked and essential to our daily life to give us safe drinking water. So thanks very much for listening to our waffles here on the Wildlands once again. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Let us know what you think of the episode, and if you've got any thoughts about water and drinking water, leave us a comment. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Ciao.